Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Sitting next to Rafael Fernandez, we'll bring you a CFL Team Preview of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Now, Rafael, tough loss for Saskatchewan in the Grey Cup Championship last season, although it was a rematch of the season before. 10-8 last year. Head coach Greg Marshall has his guys always ready to play, and they have an explosive passing attack. You know, with quarterback Darian Durant. This guy is a phenomenal player, team leader. Talk about the passing game and what they have to do this year to get back.
Well, their passing game is excellent. I mean, 25 touchdowns, that's a lot of touchdowns to throw. I mean, I believe he's going to continue to do the same thing. I mean, he's going to be a consistent quarterback in the CFL. I mean, he's a great player. I mean, he knows how to play the game. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah, he led the league in passing yards, over 5,500 yards. 20 interceptions is not what I like to see out of my 22 interceptions is not what I like to see out of my starting quarterback, and that's why they found themselves losing a lot of games. Right. Those costly turnovers at inopportune times. But I look at the backup quarterback situation because Durant is going to be the starter. Ryan Dinwiddie is a guy that I like. He's going to be competing with Chris Leak, but I think Dinwiddie is a guy that understands the game, gets it. He has the command of the offense when he's in the game. He doesn't look like it's too big for him. So I think they're fine if Durant misses a game or two because of injury, but Dinwiddie is a guy you want to see. That battle between him and Leak is going to be huge. Now, running the football is where they excel. Wes Cates is a guy that's 6 feet, 215 pounds, really good vision. And if you have great vision, you're going to get a lot of yards, which is why he averaged over 5.5 yards a carry, 15 touchdowns. True leader. What do you think about that running game?
He's the best player on their offense, and he needs to continue to be that way in order for them to have to continue to have success this season, and if they have any aspirations of reaching the Grey Cup one more time. But he's a great running back. I mean, like you said, he has great vision. He knows how to get through the hole. So, you know, his ability compensates for having an offensive line that might not be that great.
And I look at the backup running back position, rookie Brandon West, and also you look at Hugh Charles. Two guys are vying for backup duty. Brandon West is a guy that's a slick runner, smooth, silky smooth, 5'10", 193. Should get a lot of ticks this year behind Cates. Now catching the football is going to be different this year because they lose Andy Fantuz to the Chicago Bears. They also lose Rob Bagg to injury. He may miss half the season. So talk about that receiving core. You know, they still get Weston Dressler back. That guy is a beast. You know, a guy that tears up the interior defense, a slot back. So talk about the receiving core of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, I think the receiving core takes a step back. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be bad, but I think they have a lot of questions to answer. They have too many new, you know, a lot of new faces to take over positions, and they may struggle there. That's probably where they're going to struggle at. But I mean, I think down the stretch in the season they should improve that.
Well, you look at the guys they have replacing Bagg and also Fantuz. Aaron Ferruz is a guy that was on the team last year. He's going to have to take a bigger role. He has a lot of size. He's 6'6", 210. And you also look at Chris Getzlaff. This guy, 55 catches, 946 yards, 17 yards a catch. So those guys that were third and fourth receivers are now going to have to be first and second receivers. That's the biggest question. But they are very productive. It's just how well can they handle, you know, taking pressure off of Dressler, because that's what they have to do in order to keep that passing game intact. Now, protecting up front is always an issue in any form of football, and you look at their offensive line. I like them a lot. They're mostly non-imports. So they got a lot of Canadians up there blocking their tails off. Import Dan Goodspeed, the tackle, is perennial all-star. So talk about that offensive line.
The offensive line, like I mentioned, they were not that great in my opinion, but that doesn't mean they were bad. I mean, they did the job. I mean, they were basically, you know, your average offensive line. They just did enough to get by, but I think they need to do better than that, especially in pass protection. When you have a set of new receivers like they do, it's going to take time for the quarterback to kind of get used to that. So they need to improve on their pass protection.
See, I think the pass protection is kind of jaded because of you have Durant back there, a mobile guy. He kind of runs himself into sacks because if you're an offensive lineman, if you're blocking, you thinking the guy is going to be in the pocket, but when you have a guy like Durant that's making a lot of moves, he's kind of running himself into a sack. But you look at that offensive line, what's not to like about 17-year vet, the guard, Gene Makowski. This guy's been there his whole career. Very talented player. I think guard Chris Best, 6'4", 315, is probably going to be the next all-star out that bunch. So I like their offensive line. Now, defensively, they have the worst run defense. If you wanted to get your rocks off on Saskatchewan, you just ran the football down their throat. How can they improve their run defense? They gave up over 6.5 yards a carry and 137 yards a game.
They just have to be more consistent. They have to show and they have to show up and basically make plays. I mean, it's just a matter of them making plays is the difference between them being good and bad.
Well, they have to get a big year out of their second-year guy, former #1 overall pick, Shamari Williams. He drafted this guy. I like him a lot of pressure. He's going to be a defensive end. He's going to be the starter defensive end. He has to show why they made him the #1 overall pick. He has to get to the quarterback because they couldn't get to the quarterback last season. And then bringing over Dario Romeo, is going to be the key to their rush defense woes because he's a big guy in the middle. Roderick White out of Texas should also help clog up the middle some. But keep an eye on Ryan Lucas, another defensive tackle. That's another guy that should get some ticks. He's 6'5", 290, a big guy. And defensive end Montez Murphy had 3 sacks. But they're gonna have to get up. They're gonna have to raise their level of play.
Yes.
He had 3 sacks in backup duty. So him being the starter and Shamari Williams being the starter, they got to get a lot of pressure and keep a lot of that all offensive linemen off the linebackers. So talk about the linebackers. I like the #1 guy they have in Barron Simpson, 105 tackles. He's a true leader of that defense.
Yeah, Simpson is a solid player. I mean, he makes tackles, he makes plays. He's always on the ball. I mean, he's a playmaker for that team. And he's going to get. I think he should continue to be a lot of the same. I mean, that's probably the most solid group on the team on the defense is the linebacking core. They make plays, they make tackles, and I think that they need to continue to do the same for them to have success.
Well, Sean Lucas is a guy that's very consistent, one of the more consistent players they have defensively. 71 tackles he had last season. Jarrell Freeman, he brings a lot of pass rushing ability. That's where they get their sacks from. Their linebacking core, 7 sacks. But this is a guy at 6 feet, 230 pounds. Not only can he get there and can run real fast, but once he get there, you're not going anywhere else. 7 sacks. Again, the linebacker, you're right, are the best unit on the team. Now, you look at the secondary. There's not enough playmakers out there, but I like the secondary. They had 15 interceptions last year. They were last in the CFL, but again, that's all due to their pass rush. What do you think about their secondary?
Well, the secondary, first of all, is going to have new faces because the 2 starting corners from last season were cut. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's all a matter of who's going to be the 2 starting corners for that team. And I mean, that's, according to what I've seen, it's yet to be determined. They're trying to determine that in the preseason.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but you look at Lance Frazier, 5'10", 182. That's the one guy that they have back. But you're right, a lot of losses, a lot of newbies. So the cornerback play can be a question mark, but safety they shouldn't have to worry about with James Patrick. 68 tackles, 9 interceptions. True ball hawk back there at 5'11". 175, light guy, but he's a pesky guy. He's a physical guy for his size. Now, what you like most about Saskatchewan?
I think that their linebacking core is probably the most solid group on the team. Their offense is probably bend but not break. I mean, they're not that great, but they're not bad either. I think they should have consistent play. I definitely need to see less interceptions thrown in order for that team to have success. And as far as the secondary, it's a huge question mark. I'm wondering, who's going to be the corners there and how well they're going to play.
Well, I mean, I like Cates. I like the running game. I like Dressler, the talented playmaker. I also like the fact that they have the best linebacking core in the game. Now, what I don't like about Saskatchewan, questions on the defensive line. Can Shamari Williams step up and be a dominant playmaker at the defensive end spot? And also the secondary questions, like we talked about. They got a lot of newbies back there. How well can they get up to speed? But I have these guys making the playoffs, but I have them finishing 3rd in the Western Conference because, again, the talent. I like the way BC has moved ahead of the pack. Calgary is always consistent. Saskatchewan, if they can cut down on interception, if those young guys can make plays, this is another team that's going to cause a lot of problems. They give Calgary all they can handle, and they match up well with Calgary, and they can always split a game or 2 with BC. So being 3rd doesn't mean they're going to be bad. They're just not going to be 1st, and they're going to have they got to overcome those newbies this season.
Right.
For more CFL previews, visit footballgameplan.com/CFL or visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan. And listen to the Football Game Plan radio show, which airs Saturdays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time at blogtalkradio.com/footballgameplan.